Artemis has got really two projects here, what we call a Karratha Gold Project, incredibly underexplored where we are. The slide here, every gold geologist, sooner or later, doesn't know where they are, they'll come back with the same sort of checklist. Are you near a major regional structure, something that runs for, hundreds of kilometers, something that's tapped fluids from way down or intrusions from, in the Earth's crust? Major structural disruptions. You need disruptions to open things up, and then you need intrusions to sort of heat engines, I call them, but lots of other people view them differently as host rocks. And then you need favorable gold. So those four. So I'm just saying this North Pilbara area has it all. I think the Pilbara, and I'm a newcomer to it, has been a bit written off because once you're south of this dashed line on the right-hand side, the geology is completely different. You're into greenstone belts, which don't stack up very well with the Yilgarn Craton of Meekatharra to Wiluna to Kalgoorlie to, that part of the world. So, but the geology north of that dotted line or along that dotted line has surprised everyone back in early 2020 with Hemi and Andy Beckwith gave that last presentation with a lot of detail here. Just a fabulous discovery, incredible, and just sort of threw the rule book away in a sense on, the Pilbara's no good for gold. So they've got about 100 Ks up that eastern end of the belt, completely dominated and are well over, all over it, of course. And some of you might be invested in all of that. Artemis has a 20-kilometre long zone at the south, just south of Karratha, actually. It's surprisingly underexplored, so close to Karratha. We think partly because it's just dominated by the iron ore and the gas just up the road. Very little drilling outside of what we call the Carlo gold and copper project in the middle of that area. There's just minimal drilling outside of it. There's a lot of surface gold. There's a lot of surface enrichment of gold here, but there's a lot of gold occurrences, and prospectors, of course, are wised up to all of that have never been drilled. So Artemis really owns a dominant position in that area just south of Karratha. The breakthrough for the Carlo has been a hole drilled in 2025, back in February, and which just changed everything, at least in our minds. That's the hole being drilled. In the background of that photograph, those Ranger Hills in the background are the Azure initially nickel discoveries, and then beyond that, further east, we're looking east, here. Beyond that are the Andover intrusion hosted lithium deposits. And of course, there's been a presentation on that as well by Tony Rivera several months ago. A fantastic discovery. So we're west of that. The Andover intrusion always been assumed to terminate the Carlo resource. Those red dots, green dots, red, pink is high-grade gold. Green is high-grade copper. We've had to go all the way back to the resource data, through the resource model to understand what's happening in this area here. And anyway, good mapping at the surface showed that the Andover intrusion is probably flat-lying, and it was. We drilled through it back in February, March, without trying, got straight into gold in the same host rock that hosts Carlo, 600 meters to the east of that. And anyway, that's opened that area up that we call the gap. And we'll soon be putting some holes in around that to see what's going on. And then the deepest hole, again, for high-grade gold, above 4 meters at 11 grams and 2% copper. Still only 450 odd, 500 meters just below the resource. Nothing around it in the way of drilling. But importantly, that hole also intersected the yellow unit there, the regal thrust. It was chasing an EM anomaly, which is part of that regal thrust. And so the steep geology that we saw north of Carlo is flattened off to near sub-horizontal near. So we're seeing thrusting going on here. We're convinced of that over a sequence of sediments and ultramafic rocks that we've also found gold in at a place called Titan. And that's just opened up that potential. So, we're pretty excited by that. This geology map, I think I'd have to ignore that, but I just want to give a snapshot of Titan, 2 Ks west of the Carlo resource, along that same structural zone, highly disrupted area here, but fascinating. there's an outcrop of chert here. There's something like 4 or 5 different occurrences of chert and quartz veins sticking out of a paddock of no outcrop. And you can, by selectively sampling, I've got to be careful here, you can get very high grade gold values here as well, undrilled. So, Titan is very high on our list just to start putting some RC traverses across there and see just what this thing might be. We think it's structurally very interesting, and in a bunch of sediments and ultramorphic rocks we haven't seen before. So, cassowary, John, are you happy for me to run on with this here? And
yeah, we got sort of 1 minute there, Julian.
1 minute, cassowary. I've saved the best to last. Okay, might answer someone's question. I don't know. Cassowary. This is sort of frontier exploration. The grey thing in the middle is a mag image showing the Yilgarn Craton, the eastern boundary of that. Then you go into Tropicana gold deposit, which IGO and others have sort of discovered and turned into something really quite special. You have these major cratonic boundaries, but we're the third one out from the Craton, a thing called the Madura crustal boundary. We think we've stumbled onto something pretty interesting here. There's that on that blow up of that grey area in yellow are our tenements. In the middle in blue is WA1, and they've sort of picked, there was a bit of a land grab went on here back at end of last year when BHP Nickel West dropped all of their tenements along the spelt, and Rio had the northern part of it, and they dropped out of it as well. So we've got what we call the cassowary intrusion. It's a cracking great intrusion. I haven't seen anything quite like this before. It's right on that crustal boundary. We think we're in a rift to geologists here. Rifts are always good for intrusions and mineralization of many types. And that intrusion seems to have disrupted everything around it big time. We can see it in the magnetics. It's under about 250 to 300 meters of flat-lying nullarbor sediments, nullarbor plain. We're in the middle of the nullarbor plain here. The only 2 drill holes are on the eastern side. They both picked up copper. Further east of us is something else, different style, but has gold and nickel and copper. So we're pretty excited by this opportunity. The model here, first model for us, and I think also disclosed by WA1, is first shot here is IOCG style, iron oxide, copper, gold. Just to those who are very familiar with these deposits, Olympic Dam, and they showed up on John's chart of copper, below 400 meters of sediments, Carapatina, just down the road 100 kilometers away, on a major boundary structure here, cross-cutting faults, all the good things. You're looking for coincident magnetic and gravity anomalies. If you get that, and then you start drilling and you find red rocks in the bottom right-hand corner, I don't know if you can see my cursor, this piece of core here from Carapatina. That's very typical of, and it'll be loaded with bornite or chalcocite. So these are pretty exciting times. I think if do you want me just to run through my conclusions here, John?
Yeah, you better. We're getting a bit short of time, so that'd be great.
Okay. Look, quick conclusions to all, please, here. Just take these however you like, but I've figured out that you can't stop geologists bouncing ideas off. It should always happen. It should always be encouraged. It's informal, and it's the quickest way to understand what's really happening, and fast track towards discovery. Anyway, and as I say, it can happen in the core yard or the pub, all over the place. And company directors, I think, need to spend more time with their geologists, and because the geologists are living and breathing this stuff all the time. They don't usually follow any model. I think things like Flying Fox Mine at Forestania in Western areas just didn't follow a model. Didn't matter at the end of the day. No one even talked about the model after a while. It just figured it out. And structure trumps everything in my books. I don't know why, but most mines going back, and I've been involved in some shape or form, are associated with shallow thrust, 30 degrees or shallower. And others might be nodding their head or saying, well, that's just rubbish. I don't know. But Sandfire taught me that if you're heading towards development, don't skimp with infill drilling and met test work, makes or breaks. You should take every opportunity to visit a mine or a processing plant. I think the guys in smelters particularly really understand the metal industry better than anyone. You know, they are the customer. They know what they need and when they need it. Metal prices are headed, well, no idea on that one. I'll leave it there if that's okay, John.
Julian, absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. I think we are pretty much out of time on the Q&A front. Unfortunately, we will take those questions that we've had come in and try and get back to the people who've asked them individually. But Julian, yeah, thank you very much. We're just going to put up a quick poll for attendees. Thank you, everyone, for watching right through to the end if you've hung on. If you want to give some feedback, please respond to that poll. Once again, the next webinar, first Friday in October at a different time, 10 a.m. Melbourne time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. But yeah, look, thank you once again, Julian. You know, just jotted down a few things. Boards need to stay close to their exploration teams. Informal discussions by geologists are the quickest way to a mine. Having a cornerstone investor is extremely handy. It seems like if you name your targets starting with T, you're going to be have a good head start. And also EM seems to be a pretty powerful tool that has helped in a number of these discoveries. But
Julian, can I just interrupt 1 minute? If you end up with a list of let's say T1 to T10, drill T3 first every time. I don't know why, but T3 is the lucky one, definitely.
Name your favorite target, T3. Good. All right. Look, I think we'll just give a little bit more time for people to respond to the poll. But once again, a brilliant presentation, some fantastic insights into Julian Hanna's lifetime of discovery. And yeah, thank you to all who've participated. So yeah, we'll wind it up there. Cheers, everybody, and hopefully see you next month.